Call this meeting to order. If you can, please stand and join me for a moment of silence in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First order of business would be to approve the regular meeting proposed agenda. I would entertain a motion at this time.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval.
Commissioner Phobie moves approval.
I'll second.
Commissioner Danlowski seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda would be the open forum. Is there anyone for open forum this morning?
There is nobody signed up, Board Chair.
Okay, no one has signed up. So we'll move on. Next item on the agenda will be the consent agenda. I am not aware of any changes to the consent agenda, so at this point we'd entertain a motion to pass the consent agenda as listed in our agenda here.
Approval.
Commissioner Gray moves for approval.
I'll second.
Commissioner Danlowski seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Next would be announcements. Mr. Messel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the commission, with the board's permission, I thought, given we have several proclamations and visitors here, if it's okay, I'll just do announcements when you do your commissioner correspondence and reports. That way we can get right to those who are here to visit with us.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. So we're moving on to our regular agenda. Item number 1, consider approval of proclamation declaring May as Foster Month and recognize foster care award winners. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Julie Melsna. I am the supervisor of our licensing and intake unit. We're here today to read the proclamation as May is Foster Care Month. Following the proclamation, we also have 3 awards that we would like to present. So the proclamation is, whereas the family serving the primary source of love, identity, self-esteem, and support is the very foundation to our community. Whereas foster care provider provides children, youth, and adults with a safe, secure, and stable home, along with compassion and nurturance from the foster family. Whereas child foster care providers open their home and hearts and give hope to children whose families are in crisis, playing a vital role in helping children and families heal and reconnect and launch children into successful adulthood. Whereas grandparents, aunts, uncles, and other close family members and relative caregivers also have an important role in providing normalcy, stability, and family connections to their kin who are not able to remain with their biological parents. Whereas adult foster care providers have opened their homes and hearts to adults unable to remain living on their own safely, playing a vital role in offering a safe and supportive community alternative to institutional care. Whereas numerous individuals in public and private organizations work to support the Sherburne County Foster Care Program and increase public awareness, our foster care system is only as good as those who choose to be part of it. Now, therefore, the County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim May 21st, 2024 as Foster Care Month.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of that proclamation.
Second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Danlowski seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to share our winners for Foster Care Month. We had 3 categories. The first one is child care foster care winners. Then we have our adult foster care winner. And then we also have our foster child winner. I know our family, they're not here yet, right? Then I'm going to start with the adult foster care winners. Mary Bakken. I nominate Mary Bakken for family foster care due to her family, as they have always been supportive to all of our Sherburne County case managers, clients, and additional providers in the community, who they always share resources and support. Mary has continued to work with clients from all over the county to support them on their goals to increase independent living skills and socialization, along with activities in the community. I've enjoyed working with Mary and her family over the years and appreciate all of her support. That was from Ashley O. I also nominate Mary Bakken for Adult Foster Care Provider of the Year. Mary opened 2 new corporate sites this year. She took over 2 homes with individuals who have very high needs. Mary had many challenges getting these houses under her name and license for the first 4 months. Mary effortlessly kept these 2 homes afloat without any hardship to the staff or clients, as well as kept her own AFC running without any incidents. Mary is calm in the face of the storm and a natural leader. We are lucky to have her as a provider here at Sherburne County. That nomination came from Carrie. So if we could give a round of applause to Mary. Congratulations to you. We'll probably snap pictures. Oh, sure. Can Mary say something?
Okay. I received this 7 years ago, and I didn't say anything, and when I left, it's like, oh, I wanted to say thank yous. So 10 years ago, my husband, DJ, and I came into the courthouse to apply for our child foster care license, and as we met with the licensors, we decided that adult foster care was for us. And one of the things they would ask you is, do you have family support? Well, as you can tell, I do. A lot of them are here, my friends and family today. When people inquire about what it's like to do foster care, I say it's like adoption. You are adopting them into your family, as it should be. It's not just housing. You're bringing them into your home and give them love, acceptance, encouraging confidence, and community, giving them a safe space, knowing that together you'll walk through hard times and celebrate the good days. First, I'm so thankful for the county and case managers and for Carrie, the licensor. They have come along, all of us providers, giving us guidance, encouraging, and walking alongside us to better our community and the resources to offer adequate care and housing and so much support. I thank you to my family and staff who have supported me and care so much for the ones we care for, always making sure everyone's safety, health concerns, goals, and dreams are a priority. Today, I'm also remembering 2 big losses. My biggest supporter, my mom, who passed this last year, and this weekend, one of our staff, who is very dear to us, and the world will not be the same without you. My last thank you, and most important to me, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the individuals in our care and their families. Thank you all for putting your trust in me, and it is an honor to be a part of your lives as we do life together. Thank you.
Chelsea, do you want to come up? I know our family isn't here, but. Next, Chelsea is going to read the child foster care winner.
Our foster providers are not quite here yet, but they will be here shortly. Myself and 2 other workers all nominated Matt and Amanda Boast. We nominated them because they really come together to provide care to children in our community and really go above and beyond. They are so responsive when foster care needs arise and do everything in their power to also accommodate larger sibling groups so that they can ensure siblings stay together, as this is a passion of theirs. Mandy and Matt have such a strong skill set with managing challenging behaviors while really ensuring everyone's safety, supporting children in need of care, and giving breaks to biological parents along with other foster care providers in our community. Mandy and Matt have a great way of partnering with and supporting biological families, which ultimately has assisted with reunification and still remaining a support to families in the long term. I have told them a few times and couldn't say it on repeat on how impressed I am as their licensor with each of them and their ability to handle behaviors, conflicts, problem solving, and working with many professionals involved with children and families. Not only do they provide outstanding care to children, They also volunteer a great amount of their time at the Compassion Connection, serving children and families in our community. Thank you, Mandy and Matt, for all that you do for our families that we work with, along with everyone in our community.
And our last award is for the Foster Child Award, and this goes to Tarakesh Fisher, who just walked in. I nominate Tarakesh Fisher. Tarakesh has demonstrated immense strength, patience, and perseverance. Almost a year ago, the process began to get Tarakesh legal documents corrected so that she could have an accurate green card, an accurate birth certificate, and an accurate social security card. This process continues to be ongoing, and although we know there's an end to the wait, the light at the end of the tunnel seems to be non-existent. With this, Tarakesh continues to work hard in school as a high school junior and talks about her plans after high school to go to college and enter a profession where she could help other teens. She does not lose hope. Her and her family have a trip to Africa coming up this summer, and the hope is that she will be able to attend this trip and that her documentation will be to us by August. But even with that looming in the air, Tarakesh remains positive and full of hope. Congratulations, Tarakesh. Congrats. How are you? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Julie, if it's okay, do you think we could get a photo with the board and the winners? And we could start with our first winner and then the supporters who are here, since you mentioned them so importantly.
Yeah. You want to do that now, Bruce?
Yeah, we'll do it right here.
So Mary, how about we start with you? Is your pen? Is your pen? No. No, it's not.
Not pen?
No, so they are
We'll
not.
invite them back for another picture.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Congratulations, everybody.
To get settled here for a minute. So then, moving on. Next item on the agenda will be consider approval of a proclamation declaring May as National Military Appreciation Month. Commissioner
Chair?
Fope is going to read that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Whereas for generations, the freedom and security enjoyed by the citizens of the United States are direct results of the continued vigilance and service of the United States Armed Forces over the history of our great nation. And whereas the sacrifices of those who served, those currently serving, and the family members that support them have persevered the liberties that have enriched our great nation, making it unique in the world community. And whereas in 2004, the United States Congress passed a resolution proclaiming May as National Military Appreciation Month, encouraging all citizens to honor current and former members of the U.S. Armed Forces and their families, including those who made the ultimate sacrifice. And whereas the month of May was selected for this display of patriotism, because during this month we celebrate Victory in Europe Day, Military Spouse Day, Loyalty Day, Armed Forces Day, National Day of Prayer, and Memorial Day. And whereas during Military Appreciation Month, we are reminded of the important role the United States Armed Forces have played in the history and development of our country and state, and our responsibility as Americans to support and honor the selfless service of our military families. And now, therefore, we, the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Military Appreciation Month in Sherburne County, recognizing our communities, service members, and veterans, and remembering with deep gratitude the men and women who have given their lives in defense of our freedoms.
Thank you, Commissioner Philby. At this point, we'd entertain a motion to approve the proclamation.
So moved.
Commissioner Halt moves.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Gray seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, none. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will be the considered approval of proclamation declaring May 24th, 2024 as Bruce Price Day in Sherburne County. Here we go. Thank you. Honoring the retirement of Mr. Bruce Price, Sherburne County Veteran Service Officer. Whereas Bruce Price will retire effective May 24th, 2024, after more than 40 years of outstanding and meritorious service to the military, the state of Minnesota, and the Sherburne County Veteran Services Office, the last 10 of which have been the appointed Sherburne County Veteran Service Officer. Whereas we thank Bruce for his leadership and tireless efforts in honorably and compassionately addressing the challenges and issues confronting our veterans and their families. Whereas Bruce has helped raise awareness not only of services our veterans have so aptly earned and to which they are entitled, but more importantly of the immense contributions our veterans have made and continue to make within our community, our state, and our nation. Whereas Bruce's efforts and leadership exemplify the true definition of a true national and community hero, and whereas in accepting Bruce's announced retirement, the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners congratulates Bruce on the culmination of an amazing career in service to Sherburne County veterans and their families. Now therefore be it resolved that the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners do hereby extend to Bruce our sincere and grateful appreciation for his dedicated service to our community, our congratulations on his well-earned retirement, and our best wishes for continued success, happiness, and good health in the years to come. Be it further resolved that the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners joins with county staff and so many throughout the community in wishing Bruce all the best in retirement by declaring May 24th, 2024 as Bruce Price Day here in Sherburne County. At this point, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Danilowski motions.
I'll second.
Commissioner Halt seconds. Thank you very much. Stacy Morse from Emmer's office is coming up.
Good morning. My name is Stacy Morse. I'm District Director for Congressman Tom Emmer. And Bruce, on behalf of the Congressman, he put in a congressional record I would like to read. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the exceptional service and dedication of Sherburne County Veteran Service Officer Bruce Price. Throughout his career, Bruce has exemplified the highest level of selflessness and commitment when working with our veterans. His 24 years of active duty service in the U.S. Army, combined with his years of service at the county, state, and federal level, demonstrates his true dedication to our country. Over the past 9 years, Bruce has served as Veteran Service Officer for Sherburne. In this role, he has worked tirelessly on behalf of our veterans and their families, helping to ensure they receive the benefits and care they have earned. Through this role, Bruce worked with my office to participate in our Veterans Resource Fair in Elk River in March of 2024. Despite it being the worst day of winter in 2024, Bruce showed up to support the 20 veterans who attended. His compassion and advocacy have made a lasting impact on the lives of countless veterans in our community. Bruce and his team go above and beyond for our veterans. Every year, see 3,000 individuals and field more than 20,000 calls from veterans having trouble or seeking resources. Bruce is a hero. Thankfully, that fact was recognized by the International City-County Management with the Life Well-Run Community Hero Award for his outstanding service to others. He has been an incredible friend to the veterans and families of Sherburne County and to our office. While his service will be missed by all of us, we are deeply grateful for his contributions to our nation and our veteran community. I thank Bruce for his service to his fellow veterans and their families, the state of Minnesota, and our nation. We wish him the best in his retirement. And Bruce, on behalf of the congressman, all staff, and probably especially Alejandro Henriquez, we have a gift for you if you'd like to come up. This flag was flown over the Capitol. The certificate of authentication is here, and this is the official congressional record. You can actually look this up online, and you will see it listed there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for those. My mom said every day was Bruce Price Day. So, but I do thank the county, and it is bittersweet. I wasn't ready to go. I just need to go. So, but I'll be out there, and I mentioned to a few, I was at a recent event where it was in attendance of about 400 or 500, and it was a tribute to military as a public event. And when they ask each service to stand out of, when you actually visually see this, out of 400 or 500, it was truly less than 1% of the people that were in attendance actually stood. So people can say there's a statistic, but when you actually see 500 people and basically less than 50 actually stand that were in the military, it's kind of eye-opening. It's been my honor and my pleasure. I've had a great office, staff. It's always been there. And it will be, I said I wasn't ready to go, but so I will miss it, and I will miss the families, the veterans, and those personal connections that we've made since 2008, as well as those that were in the military, those relationships that I'd made. But again, thank you, and God bless. So.
At this point, we could, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Chair, if you're willing to take a photo, we would do the same, have you come down, and Bruce and Stacy, if you want to come down first, and then I would also then ask Bruce's staff to come down after that for a staff photo, since it'll be probably the last time the five of you would be together for a while.
try that again. Some light on it this time.
Okay. We have the commissioner. You guys want to stay? Come on up, guys. And then Stacy will have you step out after a couple photos. Okay. Stacy, come together with Bruce.
Next.
Great. And then we get the guys want to come up?
I was gonna give her a piggyback ride.
I can hop from there.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll get you guys. It'll be good.
You didn't hear.
You didn't have to run on us on the outsides, or?
We'll be on the outside. Good call.
Yeah, so good. Yep.
Sure we behave ourselves.
Exactly.
You guys on the other side. Okay. Two of you.
Why don't you guys go? He wanted to be buddy anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Yep. All right, and then commissioners, if you guys would stay. Thanks, Bruce.
I'm just going to announce we have our child foster care providers coming in late, and so we want to make sure that we get a picture with Matt and Mandy. So.
Congratulations. That way, this way?
Yeah, I want to center you underneath the sign. Yeah, so get you could get right below the, a little more. There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Guys, just say. Thank you. Okay. They're going to take you down. You guys can see. You guys will come over here. We'll have you have a chance to say a few words and hear the congratulations right here. That's me. I'm like, I know the story.
Alrighty, thank you again, Matt and Mandy, for everything that you do for our community and for all of the children that you have served over the past few years. I read off our nomination earlier, but I just wanted to really recognize that you guys were nominated by 3 different workers in HHS, which is very impressive and really goes to show how much we really appreciate all that you both do for everyone. And do you mind if I share why you guys were a little bit late today? I think that it truly speaks to who they are as foster care providers and as people, that there was a child really needing some medical care, and they were bringing the prescription medication or the medication that the child needed at the time to the school. So that is why they missed their nomination, because they were doing what they do. So we really appreciate you guys, and I just wanted to recognize that as well, that you guys are out doing, you know, the service that you signed up to do over and beyond. So we really appreciate you both.
Okay, so moving on. Next item on the agenda is to consider reappointment of County Veteran Service Officers Michael Scheida and Joshua Wyman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. We have a recommendation for reappointment of both Mike and Josh to the positions of Assistant or Deputy Veteran County Services Officer. Here to administer the oath of office is our recorder, Michelle Ash.
Okay, so I guess I would entertain a motion to make the appointments at this point in time and then do the oath.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Danilowski makes a motion.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Gray seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, none, motion carries. The oath now?
Great. If you'd each raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joshua Schmidt,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will discharge faithfully
and I will discharge faithfully
the duties of the Office of Veterans Services
The duties of the Office of Veterans Services
in the County of Sherburne,
in the County of Sherburne,
State of Minnesota,
State of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Do you want to do?
We will move out of the way for you to do photos up here.
Yep. If you guys want to come down, we'll do photos after they sign there.
You want to come? These Q-tip folders.
Brilliant, actually.
I can't claim responsibility. Sherry solved that one for me. Because I was looking for one for carrier and she found it. I was asking, yeah, like, I was trying to gadgets on me, but that's oh, man. I'm dry.
Okay. I don't want you to laugh right with that sign. Better in the middle. Yep.
Get the boards
Are all open?
Point where the camera gets hot.
There you go.
Congratulations, guys. Congratulations.
You want to have a little shot?
Someday, yeah. It doesn't have to be right away, but
Let me know when you guys want to do.
I'll shave when I do.
Thanks.
I want to see that.
Thanks, don't go that far.
Thanks again. You're welcome for carrying me through that last verse. Hit a break.
Okay. Settled. Next item on the agenda will be consider appointment of Jerome, I'm going to hope they pronounce your name correct, Doty? Yep. Yeah, I had a 50-50 shot. Senior Environmental Specialist as the county's Public Health Officer for Subsurface Sewage Treatment Systems.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning.
To the board. Now we transition into something a little less glamorous, like in failing septic systems. It's a duty we have to do. So currently I am acting as the Public Health Officer for failing septic systems. That's when failing septic, we do enforcement of failing septic systems in our department, but at times when a drain field is failing and sewage is surfacing, that a public health nuisance must be declared under state statutes. In that situation, the property owner is notified and they need to correct the situation, bring the system into compliance, but they need to, like place lime over the drain field, pump the tank until the system can be inspected, determine why is it failing. So Jerome Doty has been promoted to our Senior Environmental Specialist, and so in that position, I'm asking that he take on these duties.
Okay.
Any questions?
I don't have any. At this point, we'd move for approval.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve to appoint Jerome Doty, Senior Environmental Specialist as the Public Health Officer for Subsurface Sewage Treatment Systems.
Thank you. Commissioner Phobie?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Gray seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. No picture? I know.
We'll stop.
We'll stop by later.
The next item on the agenda will be receive an update from the Sherburne County Mental Health Action Team, co-responder, and adult mental health outreach social worker. Good morning.
We'd like all the pictures and all the fanfare, please. Just kidding. So good morning, everyone. I wanted to take an update or I do have a PowerPoint. I wanted to give you an update on Sherburne's Mental Health Action Team. It has been a while since we presented, and I think we actually have 2 new board members who I'm not quite sure are familiar with the Mental Health Action Team. So MAT, as we like to refer to it, started in February 2021 after we received a federal grant to work with children of incarcerated parents. At that time, we had our jail discharge program, RAP, Release Advanced Planning. We also had some housing and outreach programs. And then this grant was going to be adding a co-responder initiative. So we had all these different programs, each with a distinct purpose, but we really felt the need to come together to ensure that we were working collaboratively, that we were building this continuum of services, and that we were not getting siloed. There we go. So the focus was mental health needs of justice-involved populations. We know so often that mental and chemical health concerns are what land people in jail, court, or probation. So we brought together this multidisciplinary team, and it was important that we had people who were at the table that were decision makers, so the conversation didn't just live around the table, that we were able to enact solutions. So as I mentioned, Matt really focuses on building a continuum of services, not only to be more holistic in our approach and to serve people better, but also to more appropriately use resources. I think when we were starting this initiative, the sheriff gave a great example of a person. We always have high system utilizers of a chronic alcoholic that was living in Zimmerman, and the law enforcement was getting called 2 to 3 times a week. So really, that person needed services, needed supports, and inappropriate services were being diverted. So taking law enforcement time away from emergencies or responding to public safety to something that really didn't serve that person's need. So we built this mental health action team. There's a lot of initials on here, my chicken scratches, because I'm not technical enough to build it on Word, but really this mental health action team really works on prevention strategies, to also strategies at the time of initial law enforcement contact, to our case coordination model, which we're going to be talking a little bit about. Our case coordination model is for high system utilizers, so folks who are always cycling between detox, hospital, jail inappropriately, hopefully engaging them in services. We also work with folks who are in incarceration to the time of discharge, to the time that they're reintegrating into society. So we're really working to make sure that folks who are incarcerated hopefully don't engage in old patterns and behaviors. So fundamental to MAT, again, is this case coordination team. And so when we were looking at this model, again, we really like to steal ideas from other counties. And so Stearns and Benton both have a CAT team, CAT or BAT, Community Action Team, Benton Action Team. And so really they focus on high system utilizers who are inappropriately using high cost systems. So a lot of our referrals actually come for our co-responder, and in just a minute I'm going to invite our co-responder Roy Newman to come up, and then also our adult mental health outreach social worker Emily McNamus. And so a lot of times Roy catches them, reels them in and for our case coordination team to be talking about them. So really, to be effective, we also need not only for Roy to help identify them, but also to do the afterwork. So Roy often goes out with law enforcement, really provides that mental health support, so law enforcement can really deal with safety and security. And then there's always the after effects. And so really, Roy and Emily are the dynamic duo of that team, providing supports and working to engage. This typically is a difficult to engage population, a population who often has had interaction with government systems before and has a high distrust or just isn't willing to engage. This is not the individual that's like, yeah, detox, sobriety, that seems good, I'm gonna sign up for that. And so really, we have to really work on building relationships to find the right carrot to hopefully engage them. So right now, our case coordination team meets every other Wednesday. And we talk about referrals. Obviously, we have a signed release of information, which we have a pretty good track record of getting that signed release of information so we can talk as this multidisciplinary team. To date, we have 21 that are on our active list. And so active means that they are current referrals. So most of these individuals have an ROI or we're in the process of trying to get a release of information. They are active referrals and they're either connected or not connected. We have 55 are inactive, so again, this is a hard to reach population, and so we either tried to engage and they didn't reciprocate because this is voluntary at this point, or there has been no further calls to law enforcement. And we have 55 that are sitting on our connected list, so 55 individuals that we have successfully connected to adult mental health services, to armed services, or to other things, but yet we're keeping them on our radar. So we've got a few success stories from our mental health action team. So I'm going to invite Roy to introduce himself and talk about one of our successes.
Thank you. Good morning, folks. Thank you for having me here today. It's tough to follow that. I'm not the greatest public speaker. I'd rather walk out to the highway with a guy with a knife than come in here and talk to you all. This is it's a lot easier to work with the guy on the highway.
It is. I'll give you that one.
Yes, sir. You know all about that. I appreciate that. I'll try and be brief. Thinking of the Monday morning, January 22nd this year, started out like any normal day for me. I started out that day at Big Lake PD, and the captain over there said, "Roy, did you hear about that case over the weekend? The guy with who was gonna, shoot himself. He wanted to die by suicide by cop." And I said, "No, I hadn't." Typically on a Monday morning, I'll go through the computer-aided dispatch and kind of look at calls that I missed over the weekend. I'm a Monday through Thursday guy. So I started researching that case. Then I got called by one of our adult foster care clients out in the county who called me saying she was having a rough day. So I talked to her. Kind of got her calmed down, told her to work with her therapist and her staff. Then I got a call out to Elk River to work with a guy out at Salvation Army Thrift Store who was not cooperative with officers or the store employees there. Worked with them, got him back on the street, ready to go. Went out to the 3800 building up in Zimmerman to check in with one of the deputies about another case that happened over the weekend. "Hey, Roy, call this guy." Okay, yeah, so I'm starting my to-do list. But I follow up with this case in Big Lake Township. To protect the names of the identities of the people involved, I'll just call this person Shelley. So I called Shelley, and her husband was the subject of a call the night before where he had wanted to do law enforcement assisted suicide, is the word we use in the world. He wanted to also shoot somebody. We knew he wanted to go after somebody. We didn't know who. And he left the house with what the wife believed was a pistol case. So, okay, deputies tried to locate the man on Sunday, were unable to find him, and so now it's Monday morning, and I'm seeing what kind of help can we give this family. Shelley explained to me that the husband had court in a couple days. He had court on Wednesday to possibly extend his commitment. He was civilly committed. So I have a situation with a man who sounds dangerous, who is civilly committed, maybe has weapons. So this is the first time where I used our new extreme risk protection order statute that came in January 1st. So as a mental health professional who knows of a person who is either homicidal or suicidal and in possession of firearms, I have a duty to notify the sheriff of the county where that person resides. So first step, send out an email to Sheriff Brott and the leadership of the sheriff's office to let them know about the risk involved in this scenario. Later that day, Shelley's husband, Jim, returned and she reached out to me. She calls the co-responder. He's now threatening to burn the house down and wants to die through law enforcement assisted suicide. Through the lens of law enforcement, we call that a dangerous confrontation, where a person purposely escalates a situation, not only to bring in law enforcement, but to create a dangerous scenario that makes people respond faster. He wants firefighters to come in. He wants his family there with him. So with the wife currently not being in the home, I just advised Shelley, stay away from the home. If the house is on fire, call 911, absolutely, if there's an emergency. But if there's not an emergency, call dispatch and see if they'll have a deputy call you. And sure enough, she did. And Deputy Pollack from Sherburne County reached out. And he and Sergeant Sturm and I all got together outside the home about a mile down the road. And this is a lot of, the Chief Deputy Duran calls me a conduit, and I think that's appropriate. I'm just a connecting piece. As Amanda pointed out, I hook them, they clean them and fry them. So they do the big work. I just kind of bring them in. I'm there that day talking with Tricia Graves-Petron, social worker. I'm talking to Aaron O'Toole-Tomzik in Kathy's office, saying, hey, HIPAA allows me to make that contact, by the way, because it's a crisis situation, and I'm, as a mental health professional, reaching out to people who can reduce the risk for this person and his family. Lot of phone calls with those folks to try and coordinate, and lots of calls that day with the man himself as I'm trying to help him, and that's a situation we're in a lot. In March of 2020, the use of force statute changed, and law enforcement personnel throughout the state changed how they approach suicidal people in their home alone. No one wants to go into that home and escalate the situation. So if he's suicidal, he's at home alone, we'll try and contact him by phone and negotiate him to come out. So that's been my role many times in the county, and we've always seen it through to a good ending, where I call in to the person, talk to them, hey, can you walk out with your hands up, leave the gun in the house, let the officer search you, make sure you're safe, then we'll get you to the care that you need. Not that day. I believe the man was under a stimulant-induced psychosis. He was using drugs. He was not himself. So there was not a lot of reasoning with the man that day. The family was upset that peace officers wouldn't go in. And that's another role that, as a co-responder, I get to take on occasion, is to educate the public, talk to them a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing. We want your husband safe, we want your house safe, and we want firefighters safe, we want peace officers safe. We don't want to have to engage your husband in use of force scenario. So that night was a very long night. Just a lot of coordination down the road and not engaging with the man directly, but just by phone. The following morning, I received another call from Shelley, who informed me that Jim now agreed to go to the hospital. Great, okay, so call into dispatch, have a deputy call you. So Deputy Dean Sitchie made that first contact, drove out near the home, again, not coming onto the property, just kind of calling him, seeing if he's ready to go. We're happy that he wants to go into the hospital and get the help that he wants. However, that fell through. He decided he didn't want to cooperate. So again, it's another call over to Tricia over in HHS. I called Aaron at the county attorney's office just to talk about how dangerous this scenario is and what steps we need to take next to protect him and his family. Aaron and the team addressed him in court on Wednesday, and I hadn't heard from him again until March 7th. So now, 2 months later, he calls me out of the blue. He called me to tell me that he was turning his life around, which was a nice call to get. I don't get those all the time, but this one was really nice. He apologized. He wanted to reach out to the sheriff's office and thank the officers who responded that night. And he wanted to thank me for the help that I had given his wife and children. He told me that he was back on medications. He was engaging in EMDR therapy, which is real powerful therapy for trauma. It's eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. It's one of my favorite therapies when I used to work in an office to do with people. So he was engaging in powerful therapy. He's back on medication. He's in a treatment program. He found a job. He's living at a sober living house until he can get into an intensive outpatient treatment program. Huge changes for this guy who wanted to be dead January 22nd. Tricia Graves-Petron and I had spoken earlier in the week, and she had mentioned how proud she was of him, and he called me again last Monday. He wanted to meet face-to-face, so he came over to Big Lake PD where I was officing that day. Wanted to shake my hand, wanted to meet me face-to-face for the first time, because up till now it was all just texting and phone calls. We had talked the night before, on the Thursday night before, and just talking about the problems he was having at home, trying to reunite with his family that he hadn't seen in a while. And so he came out to shake my hands, thank me, and to say that he used some of that therapy advice that I had given him in our prior discussion, and he's trying to reunite with his family. So, you know, those kind of cases are those success stories that we see with Matt through this partnership between law enforcement and social services and connecting all those pieces. And I think that's where this co-responder role that you folks brought into this county in 2021 has been a little bit of the glue in the cracks of the system, connecting these people with the resources that they need. That's all I have for today. Thank you for your time. I'll pass it off to Emily. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not quite as tall as Roy is, so I'm hoping you can all hear me. Thank you for allowing me to borrow some of your time this morning. I wanted to speak with you all about maybe two very brief cases that are some of my favorites on the MAT team that Roy and I have been able to coordinate on together. As Amanda had mentioned, I receive quite a bit of the referrals that I work with from our co-responder, Roy. And one of the individuals that I was able to work with for quite a while, she had been utilizing quite a bit of law enforcement's time because she was a chronic alcoholic. She was driving under the influence quite frequently. She was disrupting the public quite often, and she was not being able to utilize any resources that were available to her, as she had no family, she had no friends that were helping her find recovery at that time, and she was not ready. Because of the contacts that she was having with law enforcement and with Roy eventually looped me in to try to meet with her. I was able to meet with her at one point, and during that conversation, she still was not ready. But she did agree to meet with me ongoing. She had not only her concerns with her alcohol use, she also had concerns with housing. She was losing her housing at that time. She also had pets at that time as well. That was kind of adding to some of the complexities of the relationship, of the situation. I went on to be able to meet with her on a regular basis. We were able to help her, along with another resource, to find some temporary housing where she was at a local hotel. I was able to move her from several different hotels at that time. I think I worked with her for approximately 6 months. I met with her about weekly. I brought her things like food. I brought her hygiene products. I brought her supplies for her pets. All along this time, what I was working on is helping her be ready to receive treatment so she could stabilize, so that she was able to see herself in a place where she could trust treatment, where she could trust people around her to help her find good relationships with her family members again. One morning, I was able to meet with her at the hotel. I looped Roy in during that time. That morning, she had told me that she was ready to seek treatment. I'm not sure if any of you have helped somebody get into a treatment center, but there's a lot of paperwork involved sometimes, and there's a lot of coordination. Depending on what's going on with them, sometimes they need to go to detox first. Sometimes they need to be able and willing to even get into a transportation vehicle to get them from one place to another. A lot of things can change during those in those situations. I believed that I had spent at least 6 months helping her trust that I was able to get her into treatment, and that her relationship with Roy, that she would be able to find a way where we could all work together to get her into a treatment center. I was able to set up a situation where her pets were safe and where Roy and I were able to get to her that morning. She did agree to do the entire intake process for treatment. From that space, we were able to get her safely into a transportation vehicle. We were also able to ensure that she went to treatment. She was in treatment for quite a long time. I met with her monthly at minimum during that time frame. She completed all of her treatment programs, and since then, I had some check-ins with her after she moved back to the community. She found stabilized housing, and she thanked me for the work that we were able to do with her. I believe that with the connection that we were able to have through law enforcement, through the MAT team, through Roy, and through me, she was able to find the resources and the strength that she needed in order to recover fully. She's doing well to this day, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to work with her. Another client that I was able to work with is less involved. However, I met with her at an outreach location that we had. She was very, very young. She was clearly experiencing concerns with housing, chemical use, as well as mental health. When she came in to this outreach location, she was only there for the food shelf. The pastor at that location was able to direct her to speak with me. At that time, at the outreach location we were at, we were able to help her with a few things. And then I asked her if I could keep meeting with her. She had very little insight to her mental health. I worked with her for approximately 1 month, and then she called me and she was experiencing very significant hallucinations that were very dangerous and scaring her quite a bit. She had never met Roy before. Through the trust that I built with her over that 1 month of me knowing her, I was able to allow her to have Roy and I meet with her at her home at that time. And through the trust that I had built with her, Roy and I were able to secure safe transportation after assessing that she would be best served at a hospital. She trusted us to be able to have her go to a hospital, where she then stabilized with her mental health, and she continues to work with us to this day. I believe that because we were able to meet with her at that outreach location that day, she didn't have any other friends or family and very little insight to her mental health. Now she's learning more about it, and we were able to prevent anything dangerous from happening during that time when she was experiencing her psychosis. And I'm glad that we're still working with her today.
Just to wrap that up, it's really hard to quantify prevention. I know that every time I come in front of this board, I really try to bring numbers because you're fiscally conservative. I'm fiscally responsible, or at least I like to think I am. But really, how do we quantify the good stewards of resources we are? Both Emily and Roy's positions are not levy funded. They're both grants. And then Roy's is shifting to Coney opioid funding. And so I just want you to know that when we talk about prevention, we're talking about very real costs here, very real system costs, cost to public safety, cost to human lives, and then financial costs. And so to whatever extent we're able to really try to quantify prevention through our collaborations. And again, law enforcement's in the room. I can't thank law enforcement enough, community corrections, county attorney's office. All of these individuals have been partners with us from the get-go. So any questions for?
Mr. Chair, I was just going to say that I've been so impressed with this program, and knowing that being it was a pilot process, and knowing that you just really, we are so thankful that Roy is that person that we were able to put in that role, because it's very important for law enforcement to be able to connect with that person. If there would not have been that connection, I don't know if we would be talking about how successful we view this program. I've often said many times, if we could clone Roy, it would be awesome. I know law enforcement really appreciates his time and what he does for them, because there is no person in law enforcement that wants to arrive on a scene and have to have someone who is in crisis and maybe have a negative event happen, because that just is an impact to everybody involved. Nobody in law enforcement wants to take someone's life in the middle of a crisis. So I want to thank us for being able to secure this grant, to be able to show that this is something that works. And when you talk, Amanda, about, the costs and stuff, we definitely are engaged in wanting to set, these are foundational opportunities that will help people and keep them out of that cycle that can be very costly, as we all know. So thank you so much, and thank you to law enforcement for embracing this program. And thank you, Roy, for being that person that was there to show how positive this can be. So thank you so much.
Just, this is like one of my favorite pieces that we do, and I get choked up about this because we can't, high system utilizers cost us a lot, cost taxpayers a lot. So that whole quantifying piece, that's so difficult. But if those numbers, 21, or that are high system utilizers, they cost us a lot. And this program gives people hope when they have no hope and they have burned every bridge in their life and are desperate. And I'm very grateful and proud that we do this. And I wish my dream that we can do it 24/7. I believe there's other Roys and Emilys out there that would do this, and that could, if we could support it. So I love that it's Monday to Thursday, but lots happens between Friday and Sunday. And so my vision and dream is that this is a 24/7 eventually, that we can work toward that somehow. So thank you. Thank the board for supporting it. Thank the county, all the offices that are involved.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to add one thing. Most agencies in Sherburne County post their weekly summaries, and when you read through that weekly summary, you can start to identify the people that you would like to see make that connection, because they are consistently on the weekly summary, and that there's something going on that is creating that issue and stuff. So you start to recognize those things as well. And it's a lot more common in communities, especially with mental health on the rise and people dealing with mental health issues. So thank you for both of you and what you do.
And I also just want to say a shout out to all our firefighters out there, all of our emergency medical services in the county, because they're all a part of this too. And so thanks to everyone for working together with it.
Well, none. Yeah, I'm going to echo a little bit to what has already been said, but I mean, when you can keep the frequent users, frequent flyers out of the system, I mean, it's hard to quantify how much money you're saving. I mean, crisis mental health is thousands of dollars per day. And you get people that are in and out of there. And to be able to divert some of that and keep these people out of crisis mental health, and also having the extra assistance in taking care of those people who either are in the middle of intentionally ending their existence or no longer care enough about their existence, that's also a great expense, and it's also a tragedy for the general public. So I'm really very, very happy that we have this program. Thank you very much. Okay, on to something a little less heavy. Receive, review, and accept the Auditor Treasurer's monthly report for April 2024.
Mr. Chair, before Diane gets up to the podium, I did want to recognize also, I think Bruce and his staff are going to head back, but I want to recognize Janae. Janae is moving on to, I think, more cabin-esque type life. So her last day, I think, is tomorrow, Thursday. But she's been just an amazing asset to the county and to the office. And so not only does Bruce go happy trails, but Janae is going to go happy canoeing as well. So
Something I said.
Yeah, congratulations and best wishes.
Thanks, Janae.
Yeah.
Thank you, Janae.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service to the county. Oh, dang it.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners.
Good morning.
So, moving on, I don't have all kinds of stuff like that. I just have numbers. So enclosed is my April report for the county board. And on page 2, we've got the April fund balance comparison. So this compares the April standings that we had for our funds and all of our funds listed from 2023 to 2024. So it just gives you a snapshot and a comparison of where we're at dollar-wise and in each of the funds. Also listed on that balance sheet on the bottom, we've got a start there under the general fund is our ARPA funds in there. There's still $4,443,652.15. Administration has a breakdown of these funds and how they're going to be allocated. A lot of these are already allocated to specific programs, so that's just the actual dollars that are sitting there waiting for those programs to be spent on. Also included in the general fund is our public safety aid funds, and we've got $1,469,619.24, and those can be only spent on specific purposes for the public safety. Then moving on into page 3 to 5 on the report, good interest earnings that we've been receiving, and that is good news for the county. So our interest earnings right now, we're at $952,010.41 for the year. That is over budget by $518,677.08, and we are ahead of last year's earnings by same time in April by $341,842.11. So again, referring to the very first page on there, the cash balance in the general fund, which the general fund houses the majority of our departments, at the end of April was a negative of $3,740,328.62, less than last April. This amount also in the general fund includes the recorder's compliance fund of $442,585. And as I mentioned, the ARPA and the public safety funds are on the balance sheet as well. So the general fund expenditure budgets overall are at 32% at the end of April, and that is in line with 33% of the year. And the income is at 9% at the same time. The expenditures are up by 5%, but the revenues are the same from 2023 compared to 2024. Then we can be moving on. The real estate tax collections are tracking on pace with that was expected for this year. The 15th of May was just last week, fell on a Wednesday. We had notices posted on our website, in our local newspapers and stuff, beginning the first part of May as a reminder, for folks. We are working right now on compiling all the information that we have, and we'll be doing settlement. So it's called like period 1 settlement. So on May 24th, the first 50% is distributed out to the schools and the Department of Revenue. And then by June 5th, the second 50% goes to the schools and Department of Revenue. And then by June 18th, 70% for period 1 settlement goes to the cities and townships. And then by July 5th, the balance of the first period settlement is due when we distribute everything else out. So, but those are by statute, the different periods and when they get paid out to the different taxing entities. So that's just a little bit of a rundown on what we're doing and the different pieces that we have to work through settlement. So moving on to page 6 on the report, the final page on there is the budget to actual as reported by function. And this is a modified accrual report. And if there's any questions that anyone has, I'll entertain to answer your questions the best I can.
Does anyone have any questions? No, I mean, as usual, you laid everything out perfectly. Thank you very much.
Okay. So moving on, just to let you know too, the 2024 elections training was put on by the Secretary of State's office the full week in the last week in April. And that was attended by Carmen, Ken, and Carrie in my office. So publication for the positions that were coming up that are being open for this year for 2024 were placed in the paper along with the filing information according to Minnesota Statutes 204B.33A. And filing opened this morning at 8 a.m. and we had a couple of filers in right away, so which is good. And filing closes at 5 p.m. on the 4th of June. And candidates have until the 6th of June up to 5 p.m. to indicate to the filing office if they wish to withdraw. Also, to give you an update, what we're working on is our 2023 Comprehensive Annual Report. And Clifton Larson team was here in our office last week. We're working on finalizing some of the statements and stuff, compiling the notes, the transmittal letter, and the management and discussion letter that's going in there. So coming up, we will be planning on submitting to the GFOA for the award by the end of June of this year. So that has to be filed by the 30th of June. So we will be presenting another RBA to the board to ask to submit that effort to the GFOA once it's ready. So that's the end of my report. Any questions?
Any questions at all? Comments? Once again, thank you very much for everything being very accurate and well taken care of.
Thank you.
Totally appreciate it. Next item on the agenda will be consider Baldwin Township's request for allocation of park dedication fee funds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I will take this on here real quick, just in terms of brevity. And then Keisha's going to pull up the briefing slides and we'll go through them. Real quick, the Township of Baldwin did request by letter consideration to allocate park dedication fees to a local township park project as opposed to more of a county-wide use. And as soon as Keisha gets up the PowerPoint, then we'll be able to go through those real quick. Sorry, Keisha. They were in the, I don't know, were they in the attachment? Would it be easier just to go through them versus calling up PowerPoint? There's the letter. Go ahead. Is it behind the letter? They were attached. Yep, right there. Okay. So we'll just go through these real quick and then answer any questions you might have. The next slide. Okay, so basically, just a quick review. Minnesota State statute designates that the controlling responsible government unit for land use decisions can accept either park land or park dedication fees from new developments. County policy for those areas that we have jurisdiction for is we receive $1,200 per each new residential lot or 10% of the land area. And over time, we've received both. And you'll actually be hearing about some of the land issues later this summer as we bring back a review of all of the land that the county currently owns. We collect this for Haven, Clear Lake, Big Lake, Palmer, Santiago, Oro, and Blue Hill townships. We do not collect these for areas where we do not have land use controls. That includes Becker, Livonia, and most recently Baldwin townships. Baldwin made the change, Andrew, what, a year ago? Right. 25% under statute of the funds that are collected can be used countywide by the county for park purposes, and that's defined in statute. 75% must be utilized by the county in the township from whence it was generated. So the statute says the county has to use it for certain purposes, only 25% for countywide, and then 75% in the township or the jurisdiction in which those were generated. The county adopted a policy in 2006 that's been in effect since then, and it does allow townships to request from the county use of the 75% funds if the funds are available. I should also note that statute allows the county to ask the townships to release that 75% obligation, but we have never done that. And so it's not part of our policy, although it is a statutory opportunity. So if we go to the next slide, And this is attached in your packet, it's easier to read, but just to highlight this, Minnesota statute talks about what specifically it can be used for, and then it defines the 75%. Essentially, it cannot be used for recurring operations, recurring maintenance, replacement. The intent of the dedication fee is to expand parks and trails and to establish connections between the same. So again, we can go through the specific uses here. And I would note also for board information and answering questions is our Park and Trail Advisory Committee Chair, Dean Kleinhans. So Dean, thank you for coming today. We'll talk about the role that they play here in a second. So again, statutorily designated purposes. Next slide. So this is the county park policy as it relates to use of the fees. And you can see before 2001, 100% of the fees could be used countywide. Following the statutory change, then you see the 25-75%. The countywide fees are used for regional parkland acquisition, regional trail right-of-way acquisition, regional trail development, and then regional park development, including parking, signage, shelters, and the like. The 75% by county policy in area-specific fees is used for regional parkland acquisition, right-of-way acquisition, trail development, parkland development, and then if there's no other county uses, lower priorities would be township requesting it for parkland acquisition, township request for local trail connections to regional trails, township request for local parkland acquisition not adjacent to existing parkland, and then township request for local trail development not connecting to regional trails. So there is an option for that to occur. Next slide will show you that we have really only used the park dedication funds for two major activities. One, you can see, is in Livonia Township. We acquired land for Grams Park at $764,000 roughly. DNR grant, you can see, and then we used $340,000, so probably the entire amount at the time that was in the park dedication fund for Livonia was used for that parkland acquisition. And then budgeted and planned for 2025 is the second major project using these funds, and that is in Baldwin, $1.92 million extension of the Great Northern Regional Trail. You can see we were also awarded a grant for just shy of $700,000, and using local option sales tax and the park dedication fees would make up the remainder and was our 20% match for that grant. I would note that that park dedication fees is now dormant. We are not collecting any more funds. This is the remainder, the total remaining in the account. So the account would be depleted and then closed at this point since Baldwin is now collecting their own funds. Next slide. So these are the past township projects where they have requested from the board and the board has approved use of the funds. In Baldwin Township in 2014, there was a small request for $5,000, and in 2011, you can see almost $92,000 was provided to Baldwin Township at that time for local park use by the township, as the county had no foreseeable regional parks or trails development. And so the county board did elect to follow its policy and allocate those funds to Baldwin. Big Lake Township, you can see funds collected and used in 2022, 2020, and then in 2008. And then in Clear Lake Township, again, funds used in 2020 and 21. So basically, the process that's laid out in policy is a township can request use of the funds. It goes to the Parks and Trails Advisory Committee for their recommendation, and then it comes to the county board for consideration. The rational nexus has been if there's no identified programmed use by the county, that typically there's a recommendation for approval for township use, as you can see here in these three townships. The request from Baldwin Township was to use the remaining amount of funds, $66,000, to reimburse the town for young park improvements. They have a $187,000 project, and that would deplete all of $66,000 to that. Again, what we note is that the county had previously identified this funding as part of the required 20% local match for the Transportation Alternatives Program Grant Award for construction of the Great Northern Regional Trail segment located in Baldwin Township. On that note, I did do a little additional research. The match requirement was identified in 2023, and then per policy, we notified the town in February of this year of our intended plan to use it. And so then you can see their letter came in April. So this was not a last-minute grant application. This was actually started back in 2023 for the Great Northern Regional Trail segment. Next slide. A little bit more about the regional trail. It is programmed and budgeted for 2025. It'll go from Fifth Avenue in Zimmerman to County State Aid Highway 9 in Baldwin, about 3.78 miles. You can see that 2.05 miles of that are in Baldwin and 1.73 miles are in Zimmerman and Livonia. The project funding plan you see on the second table, 1.92 million. Again, the matches were the park dedication fee and the local option sales tax. What we note on this is this project was also included in the county's approved Parks and Trail Comprehensive Plan and the overall county's comprehensive land use plan. So this has been identified and part of our strategic planning for many years. Also, we would note that this project is being done in conjunction with the county's planned and approved 2025 mill and overlay of County State Aid Highway 45. I note that because that is the only way we can use local option sales tax for the trail. Otherwise, that is not a funding source for parks and trails. It can only be used for trails if they are adjacent to a county state aid highway development. Did I get that right, Andrew?
They have to serve a transportation purpose.
Right. So it's not like we can, in other areas in the county, easily dedicate local option sales tax for just park purposes or trail purposes. So we are able to put together this funding scenario because of the unique situation here with the project. Next slide. So brought to the Parks and Trails Advisory Committee were two recommendations. One was to recommend denial of the Baldwin Township request, as the county has an identified timely use of these funds per the priorities set forth in statute and in accordance with county policy. The second option was to recommend approval of the Baldwin Township request and then have developed for you rationale or justification for why we would deviate from the county policy. The Parks and Trails Advisory Committee had an extensive discussion of this and recommended denial based upon the criteria set forth. Also noted was, while it was not explored from a legal standpoint, there were concerns raised that the Baldwin Township use identified in their letter may not be consistent with statutory purposes. In other words, it's development or redevelopment of an existing park, playground equipment. It wasn't clear that that would fit a statutory purpose, but we didn't explore that because the denial was based upon policy. With that, I'll ask if Dean wants to add anything from your discussions, or Andrew, or will answer any board questions. But if not, the recommendation from the Parks and Trails Advisory Committee was to respectfully deny Baldwin's request.
Does anyone have any comments on this?
Mr. Chair, I just want to say that it's important to follow state statute as well. When you are collecting these fees from developers and they are told as to what those dollars are going to be used for under statute, I think it's, we have to, I think, abide by that state statute. And those fees cannot be used for redevelopment or upgrades to park equipment. It has to be used for putting in a new park. So I think that we need to follow the recommendation of our Parks Board and follow our policies and abide by state statute.
Anyone else?
And I can make that a motion.
Okay. Commissioner Danilowski, motions to deny it, I guess. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Further discussion? I guess my question would be for the county attorney. To me, this is money collected from the taxpayers of Baldwin. The taxpayers of Baldwin, via their elected officials, have clearly declared that they would rather use this funding that was collected from them for this park and not the Great Northern Trail. From a statutory standpoint, I don't see a penalty in that statute. What sort of, I guess, exposure or liability would we have if we didn't, if we went ahead and gave them their money?
I presume that the chair is not asking me that this county board take an action that would violate state law.
Okay, that's a pretty good answer.
You have to understand, I was around when, oh boy, this sounds bad. I was around when they put this statute in place. This was actually Senator Betsy Wergen's initiative, and the idea was to reinvest in the townships where the monies had been collected, but to do it on the county level absent some contingencies. So interestingly enough, the statute that I'm asking you to abide by came out of Baldwin Township. There's an irony for you.
Okay, well, that pretty much takes care of my questions on this subject. Commissioner Holtz?
Just a question. Has there been any communications back with Baldwin Township on the concerns?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Commissioner Hulse, yes. I actually presented to the town board between their two meetings in April to make sure they are aware of the policy and staff's likely process to follow. Then they sent the letter in. We've communicated with them since, and I've talked to Tom as a courtesy on Friday, gave him a heads up. I sent these briefing slides from the Parks and Trails Advisory Committee to the town chair or the town clerk, who then sent them to the town board. I was not present last night, but they did have a town board meeting. I expected Tom may come today. He did not. I've attempted to text him and see if he's still going to come, and he hasn't. But we've communicated. Andrew had communicated in February with them that we did have a planned use for these funds, and following board action, of course, we'll do a formal communication.
Okay, I guess I don't see any wiggle room on this, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? There we are. Let's see, next will be Commissioner, I'm sorry?
Oh, I was just going to thank Dean for coming today too as well. And he's a Baldwin resident, so he got to wear two hats on this one. So I appreciate your work, sir.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, also I'd like to thank Dean for being here. It was a very robust discussion with the Parks and Trails Committee. We have assembled a great group that really wrestled with this and really looked at it from all angles. But the two pieces that they clearly gave them pause was the statute. Felt like this was more a maintenance or a replacement piece. And then the other, that the 66,000 was leveraging money toward the trail in Baldwin, so also will support Baldwin residents and development of that trail in the township. So really tough discussion, but a really good one. And you can be proud of the group that you've assembled. So,
Mr. Chair, and I'm assuming that when we do our formal response back, we will make it clear that the statutory requirements were a significant portion of that discussion.
That was part of the motion, yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great, thank you.
And then, Mr. Chair, if you want me to start with announcements before correspondence, just again, I'll flag whenever you're ready for those.
That's where we're gonna go. So let's go ahead and do the announcements, and then we'll do commissioner correspondence. And
all right, thank you so much. Just a couple of things. First and foremost, I just want to do a calendar call with the commissioners, and specifically looking at June 18th. Just a reminder, and an important one, that in addition to the county board meeting that morning, we do have the County Board of Appeal and Equalization that afternoon at 3 p.m. I do need to ensure that we have a quorum of folks available for that, and so what I'm looking for is affirmation today that 3 p.m. on the 18th is on your calendar for Board of Appeal and Equalization. This is by appointment as well as some drop-in. Michelle's not here, but I think I'm going to get that right, Diane? Yeah. But we don't expect nearly the robust attendance or conversation as we had last year, just given the stabilization of the market. But that being said, we do need to ensure that the Board of Appeal and Equalization is completely seated.
Yeah. Quick question. So that was June 18th?
June 18th, 3 p.m.
Could we just get a calendar invite? And I don't see it on my calendar.
I will send out a calendar invite if you just let me know today if you are available. So, yeah. Okay, yes?
Yes.
Rayanne?
Yeah.
Greg?
Yep, I just
Okay,
put
so
it on
all
my calendar.
5, good. That's wonderful. All right, then just a couple of updates on a couple other things that you're tracking, and then a little time on legislation. I did want to note that we are in active recruitment this week for 2 key positions. One is for our Veteran Services Officer. We were up to more than 24 applications for that particular position. That one's open for about another week and a half, and we'll be working, of course, on that pursuant to your direction. Second is our Auditor Treasurer. We've got about a half a dozen applications. That closes after this weekend, and we'll be going through the process of vetting that, and then 2 commissioners will be participating in those interviews and discussions. I would note that with both of these positions, we do engage Martin McAllister for a leadership assessment for the finalists, and so we'll anticipate that happening. And then as part of the recommendation, the 2 commissioners will receive the detailed Martin McAllister assessment orally and then post hoc written. And then the third one, I just wanted to note that Dan and I are working on some scenarios for the Facilities and Maintenance Director position. We may come up with a different leadership model for that particular unit, given that it's an overnight position as well, and so we may go with kind of a project management lead as opposed to a traditional director. That does put additional weight on Dan's shoulders, but he feels with ARPA waning, it's something that he would like to try. That's one of his departments that he oversees directly, and I accede to his thoughts on how best to proceed. So we'll come up with something more detailed and just inform you of that, so you won't see that one advertised per se. And then switching gears a little bit to legislation, just a couple of notes. Some good news at the federal level. Senator Klobuchar has advanced our request for congressionally directed spending for our regional park, and that will now proceed to the Senate committee, which is absolutely wonderful news. So congratulations to Gina and Andrew for that. As you know, we were unable to get Congressman Ember's support this year, but he's been a tremendous champion for all of our other major projects. So we'll continue to work that and keep you informed as it moves through the federal legislative process. Then switching to the state, as you saw, kind of a chaotic ending to the session this year, second only maybe to one other one, I don't know. But there'll be more kind of summaries. This is just kind of a thumbnail view so that you get a kind of a high-level understanding. I'll start with the yeses. The most important thing for counties was that the settlement for Tyler versus Hennepin County was approved and is, I believe, still on the governor's desk, or he may have already even signed it. That also does 2 things. One, it changes the policy for tax forfeitures, and it sets aside $109 million for participating counties to be reimbursed or to cover the costs of that settlement. In our case, that's about a $500,000 swing. So that's really important. There are some obligations, though, that we'll be taking on that Kathy and Diane will be going through about how we handle sales, especially sales of identified properties that have to be sold, and then any money collected beyond a certain amount goes back to the state to reimburse them for fronting it. So we'll be processing those as well. And I did note, again, that sometime this summer we're going to bring back to you a list of all county-owned properties, just so you're aware of what's out there, and we'll actually be looking at a possible sale of property that we don't feel is needed to be retained. The reason I raise it now is it's related somewhat to parks. Since we don't have a dedicated revenue stream for parks, one of the things we'll look at is if it was park acquisition land that came under that statute, if it's sold, then what are the restrictions on use of those funds for parks going forward? And I'm sure we'll have some good information for you down the road. Other pieces you can imagine are remnant pieces from road projects or things like that that we probably don't need to keep in the inventory anymore. The other things that passed, which were of note, EMS funding. For those of you who track that closely, some rural EMSs across the state have really struggled financially, so the legislature has put down some one-time money for that. Cannabis licensing and growing has been put on a fast track. It'll allow for businesses to pre-apply for licensing. That does put into question local controls, and there weren't many in the first place. So we will scrub the new laws and then probably get our team back together to talk about cannabis management. That's probably going to result in some work for us here at the dais this summer as we look at, again, what the local expectations are, what we can and cannot do. Employee safe and sick time was modified. That also includes an increase, unfortunately, in the employer payroll tax. So those of you who have businesses, you get to pay it, and so does the county. I don't remember the exact percentage it went up. Diane or Michelle, do you remember tracking it? It went up from like 0.7 to 0.9. Does that sound right? It was talk about possibly doubling. Andrew, do you remember?
No, but I want to clarify. You're speaking about paid family medical leave, not the safe and sec time.
Correct. I'm sorry, PFML. So that will go up, and we'll see that again in implementation, and we'll be talking about that as part of the budgeting process. If you're tracking at rideshare, that was a big issue at the end of the legislature. They did set a statewide minimum wage for rideshare companies, and that did get approved, and so we'll see that. And then last thing on the of note is the legislation on straw gun purchases also passed the finish line. Other things that progress was made, but nothing that stands out. Solid waste reduction funding, greenhouse gas assessment requirements, some modest election funding, and then some human services policy and funding changes. But again, nothing that really is going to be dramatic or game changers. The other good news with the failure actions was there weren't a lot of new mandates that were being talked about, so maybe dodged a bullet there. And then finally, just a note, what didn't get done was that there was no bonding or capital projects bill that made the finish line, and that's going to probably affect some of Andrew's planning. I don't know if it'll affect individual projects because it means the state funds are not being replenished upon which we draw money. Again, we did not have a bonding project in the bonding bill, or at least in the final drafts. But going forward, as you know, we are seeking funding at the state level as well. So hopefully next year we'll be back in the table for that. And then if you were tracking it, there was a last couple week discussion about the Equal Rights Amendment, and that also failed to reach the finish line. So a very chaotic ending, but an ending nonetheless. And then just a reminder for this afternoon, from 1 to 3, or 1 to 2:30, I think it is Bruce's retirement party. That will be in the staff cafe, if you can come back for that. I think there'll be some formal remarks, probably around 1:15 or 1:30. So, thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Who would like to go first for commissioner correspondence today? No one?
Whoever goes the fastest.
Okay, Rand's going to go first.
All right.
Timer.
Start the timer.
That's a timer.
3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes. All right, May 7th, I attended the County Road 43 Emergency Responders meeting in regards to the second phase of the construction on 43, which is going to have some bridge shutdown component. The detour, when that happens, is about a 13-mile detour. So they were looking to communicate with emergency responders to assure them that they would keep the bridge passable for their needs. So that was good news to hear. Also, on May 8th, I attended the NACO CEWD, which is Economic Workforce Development, and also attended, and that was a conference call via Zoom. Attended my township meeting that night, and there was an update that was given by for tax classification changes, and Dan Weber and Michelle were out there explaining those issues, and then also Planning Commission, or not Planning Commission, but Planning and Zoning was there. Lynn was there to talk about changes that are coming down from the state in the shoreland septic setbacks and the floodplain ordinance. These are revisions that they're looking to just align with what the state changes are. On the 9th, attended a AMC Demystifying Continuous Improvement. That was done via Zoom as well. And that was a good presentation, and they're going to have more sessions to follow in September, and one will be virtual and one will be in person. Then I also attended the mental health open house in Elk River that afternoon, and that was really well attended. There was a lot of providers that were there, and it just kind of reinforced when you were going around the room and seeing how this could be so implemented in family resource centers as well. So it was a very good turnout for their first one. The 15th, I attended a pre-construction meeting for the County Road 43 second phase project. I also attended the Sherburne County SUP Coalition meeting and attended the National Police Officers Memorial Ceremony. And that's always a hard one. It's so touching and just so sad to know that you're doing this to recognize the amount of fallen officers, and the numbers are just way too large. And then also on the 16th, had our county EDA meeting, and also attended via Zoom the Sherburne County Family Resource Center meeting. They have now decided they've gotten it to the point where they're not going to meet every month, but we're going to continue to meet like quarterly just to keep a touch on how we're making progress in getting the family resource centers developed in Sherburne County. On the 17th, attended my Big Lake SUP Coalition meeting, substance use prevention. Also attended a webinar for the future of AI, and all I can say is, wow. It is coming, and we have got to learn how to make friends with it and figure out how we're going to be able to incorporate it and use it.
It's here. It's
It is
not
here.
coming. It's here.
Well,
It's been here.
It's got to be coming to us.
Well, it is.
To welcome it.
It's here.
Yeah. So I just found that totally eye-opening. And then also attended the WAVE Youth Center. They were granted a bless you. They were granted a $1.8 million grant from the federal level to help assist with what their future building is going to be for that in the Big Lake community. And Senator Smith was there. They had a roundtable discussion as to what it is that the WAVE is looking to do, and to be able to thank her for sponsoring that and getting that over the finish line. Also then attended the History Center fundraiser that evening at the Friendly Buffalo. This was the first one that has been in person now since COVID, so it was nice to see it come back. It's a fun fundraiser, and they do one of my favorite things, which are silent auctions. I thought I'd see Ann there, but I think you guys weren't back yet. Okay, and then the 20th, attended the webinar for trustworthy elections. I found that really, really interesting. I did forward the information to Bruce and Diane, and I think that there's things that we can probably look to explore and incorporate, hopefully, in what it is that they've done and the work that they've done through that process. And then also that evening attended my options board. And then I just wanted to make one quick comment in regards to Bruce's update at the state level. One of the things that we know that did not get over the finish line was the horse track betting. And incorporated into that bill was also a huge tax relief to charitable gambling organizations in what it is that they get taxed for. The money that they get taxed that goes down to the state is money that is not able to get back into the community. And just as an example, the organization that I chair in my community, and this is just one of the organizations that's a charitable gambling. We have our meeting tonight, and our tax commitment for our sales this month alone was $68,000. That is money that goes out of the community that can do a great good. So that did not pass, but we'll keep working on trying to get that tax reduced. That's it.
Mr. Holtz is going to go,
Sure.
I guess.
I'll go next. So on the 8th, attended the ISD 728 Community Partners meeting. That was a good meeting. to go over some of the changes that are going to take place in IC 728, as well as there was a discussion about organics recycling, which ties into something we're going to talk about a little bit later today. The next meeting that I attended was I had the Peace Officers Memorial on the 15th. Once again, I agree. It was a very well done but very solemn ceremony. So I was pleased to be able to attend that. On the 16th, we had our county EDA meeting, and I'm pleased with the direction that the EDA is going. We're making, I think, good strides toward economic development in the county. And then on later that day, I attended the call with Congressman Emmer's staff. It was a brief meeting, not a lot of updates from the congressman that day, but things continue to move forward. And then most importantly was last night for me. So last night I was able to attend and thank some of our first responders at the Elk River City Council. And by way of background, a week ago Thursday, I was driving to dinner, and a blood clot had formed in my heart and dislodged and caused a 100% blockage of the left descending artery feeding my heart. And so I thought I could turn around and make it home. I would live 2 miles from downtown Elk River, and realized pretty quickly that I wasn't going to make it home. So I pulled into the parking lot there by Old Main, and through the work of the Sherburne County Dispatch, Elk River Fire and Rescue, and Elk River Police Department, they were able to get to me very, very quickly and got me to the hospital. And after spending a couple days in the hospital, I was able to be out and get back to work on Monday. And then, fortunately, that led me this weekend to be able to go see my daughter walk the stage for her college graduation at Drake University. So I'm very grateful that I was able to highlight the important and good work that our first responders do, especially in these times where sometimes some of the negativity overshadows the real good work that they do. So it was a nice ceremony last night, and I appreciate the support from the county leadership that was there for me as well.
Thank you. Next. Oh, I'm next. May 8th had the MICA meeting. I think Bruce gave us all that. We would have got the legislative updates that day. May 9th, I did the Soil and Water Conservation Board. May 9th, I also attended the mental health open house that Ryan already talked about. May 9th, I attended the MnDOT open house on Highway 24 in Wright County, which is going to drastically, I think, affect Sherburne County and my district in Highway 24 moving forward. May 10th, we did the Sherco Solar Tour with XL and the county staff, which when all of you get a chance to tour that, I think it's enlightening that all the negative aspects that are being told in the public are kind of futile, and that they have weighed most of them out, I think. There's always pros and cons to it, but I think the Sherco Solar thing will be fine. May 13th, I did the XL Energy stakeholder meeting by Zoom. May 16th, the planning and zoning meeting. And on May 18th, I did the Palmer Township Cleanup Day, which was, I spoke with Dave Lucas, which was very well attended by the Palmer Township residents. So that was my day.
Okay, a couple things I just hope that everyone saw is in the NACO County News paper this last time, our park was highlighted and our partnership with our tribal nations. So please take a chance to peek at that. It's really exciting. Some people in AMC have brought it up with me, so people are reading it, so that's great. The other thing is MICA sent out a report. Do you all get the MICA updates? Yes. So that came out yesterday with the end of the session report. Attended the ISD Community Partners meeting, as Andrew spoke about. MICA was already mentioned. The First Steps Joint Powers Board met. And we really had some stories from some of our residents that have utilized the services, and those are all just heartwarming and really help us realize why we do the work we do. So a Resilient Counties Advisory Board, NACO Board met. TRICAP, we had a meet and greet with the new executive director, and then TRICAP also hosted their annual dinner where we welcomed our new executive director and celebrated our staff and our board for the year and all that we've done. Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, the Workforce Development Board met. The Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Community and Government Relations Committee met, and the Operations Committee. All working on some great stuff. They had an AI presentation last week. I wasn't able to attend it, but it was attended by almost 200 people. Virtual meeting. Went to the Princeton Chamber meeting. They highlighted the state of the city of Princeton and then also the state of the Princeton schools. So that was great to be there. Princeton Airport met. The Park and Trail Advisory Committee, as we spoke of earlier, I'm the liaison to that. I missed the peace officers thing, which I hate to miss, but I was at the Great River Regional Library donor luncheon. So we put on a donor luncheon each year for our donors, and that helps us offset our levy. So that was good. We played bingo this year. Central Minnesota Council on Aging, each year we have a joint board with the advisory committee and the board members, the Joint Powers Board. So that met. Futures was last Thursday and Friday in the cities with AMC. And this morning I filed for public office for the next election. So that's my little political 10 seconds. I did file. I was one of those two filers that Diane mentioned.
All right. So we know
Yes.
that now.
Cat's out of the bag.
Mhm.
So let's see. I was on vacation for 8 days, so I attended a few less meetings, just a couple that week, and then of course the agenda review. I prefer to spend actually Police Week alone with my own thoughts of the people that didn't make it through to retirement. So I tend to go on vacation that particular week. Anyhow, on 5/8, we went to the MESB board. They authorized some new radios for Dakota County and for the U of M as far as additional responders being able to use the Armor system. We were hoping to get some more funding that I still haven't been through all the updates to see how the funding for the MESB actually worked out. NACO Public Safety, they discussed a lot of grants that are coming out. Grants for, pull this up here, grants for second chance authorization, funds for aid care transitions for justice-involved individuals, preparedness grants to advance county security and resilience. So there was a whole lot of public safety grants that are coming out that I'm sure our staff will be looking into applying for. On 5/13, I did the District 5 Board Chairs meeting. And they had mostly we discussed the district meeting that's coming up and a short discussion about turnover employees and how that's affecting various counties, and everybody's having a problem with that. On 5/16, I had the Rural Action Caucus. Basically, the NACO Rural Action Caucus discussed safe streets and roads funding, discussed the new farm bill, and discussed postal reform that is needed. And then after I got back, 5/20, AMC Braver Angels webinar. Commissioner Danlowski also attended that. It was really, really a good webinar. I mean, discussing what they had taken a bipartisan group and sat down and discussed, not correcting the previous elections, not correcting things that had gone wrong in the past, but how we could move forward together to reduce, if not eliminate, the division and hatred that kind of is so prevalent in America right now around our election processes. And basically, in a very quick synopsis, what they did is they would take, and if either side had a strenuous objection to a concept, they would throw it out. So the only things that were advanced as part of their recommendations were ideas that everybody could relatively agree on. So no one side is getting everything that they would want with this, with their recommendations, but it's something that everyone could agree on. And there's a lot of really good things in there. I mean, there is stuff about, voter ID being mandatory, but then making it easier for people to get those IDs. So that's a kind of give and take that we're part of this process. I highly recommend people read it. I have shared it on my personal Facebook sites. It's available at the Braver Angels site. And what I'm hoping is that through our partners in AMC who did sponsor this, we can advance some of these concepts into legislation to help help take care of some of this conflict that we have in our electoral process right now. I mean, I just think it's a good idea.
So, Mr. Chair, I hate to take a little extra time, but there are some key things that are coming out of Braver Angels. And Braver Angels was founded by Bill Doherty and another partner way before, even before Obama. So he had looked at electoral divisiveness and just saw the writing on the wall. And as we all know, it's only gotten worse. So AMC, this is one of our pillars and our biggest things that we're working on. And both the leader of the DFL party in the state and the Republican Party are doing a program called Reduce the Rancor, along with Braver Angels, to get to all these principles that you just spoke of. So I just want to highlight that this has taken, they're now in many different countries, but we have them right on. Bill Doherty is a professor from the U. He founded this program. He's amazing. But both parties have stood up in a press conference, you can Google it, and they're doing it in partnership with Braver Angels called Reduce the Rancor. So it's great stuff. Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, it's just, it's where we have to go. We can't continue on with the level of just, there's no better word for it than hatred that people are expressing. I mean, we can't, I just literally watched Bill Maher on Fox last night on Greg Gutfeld's show, which you wouldn't expect to see Bill Maher on Greg Gutfeld's show going to this. But what he said, and I'm not very likely to quote Bill Maher on any regular basis, but what he said is that for him, like, he can go ahead and hate Donald Trump, but he can't hate everybody who supports Donald Trump. That's 50% of the country. So, that's what this alludes to. We have to, you may not like the politicians, you may not like me, that's fine, don't vote for me, right? But we need to get to the point where we're making some concessions to each other and we're reducing this level of conflict that we're having. And I guess that's a little pontification again from where I'm sitting, but here we go.
You got me going.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. It's remarkable, the work that Braver Angels is doing.
So then that's really all that I have. I'm sorry, I didn't. I almost went off. The ETAC emergency issue, Energy Transition Advisory Committee, emerging issues. We're working on the Department of Revenue's processes for taxation of utilities. There is a big biomass discussion coming up. We're working on that. And that biomass would be using, primarily in this case, like wood pulp for energy that's being done in other states. So, and along with that, while I was flying and moving back and forth, I did do a fair amount of research into, and I'm working on understanding more about biomass, and I've also spent a bunch of time on the solar panels this week, the last couple of weeks, learning exactly what type of solar panels we're putting in this part of thing. Excel was nice enough to give me the information on what type of solar panels we're using so I could understand what a type 2 type solar panel consists of, what's actually in it, the materials, which is going to be silicon and phosphorus. So we're not talking about a whole lot of heavy metals unless the thing would actually burn. So, and they are hail resistant and so on and so forth. So those are things that I'm looking into, and along with the ETAC stuff, but there's just an awful lot going there in terms of could we possibly add biomass to our overall portfolio here in Minnesota. So that, I think, is it, actually.
Mr. Chair, I just need to double check. Keisha, I think I forgot to mention my options board meeting on the 20th.
I'm
So if you
surprised.
could put, I know, I got off on the gambling thing, so, sorry.
Okay,
Priorities.
all right.
Gambling.
And if the board is willing, maybe we can take a break before going to the community health board, so.
That's a really good idea. So we'll take a break at this point for, I don't know, what do you figure, 10 minutes? Turn it back on. We'll recess the regular meeting and open the Community Health Board meeting at this point in time. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting proposed agenda.
Thank you very much.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Motion carries, and we can move on. Thank you. Yes, good morning. So we're going to consider approval of Community Health Board minutes from March 19th, 2024. If I get a motion for that.
So move.
Moved by Commissioner Gray,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Philby. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, none. Motion carries. And now we can actually receive the Community Health Service Administrator's bi-monthly update. We are there.
Exactly. Just pull up my little report here. All right, I don't have a lot of updates today, but I'm excited to have a guest here with me who's going to put the fun in public health. So hold on, right? A few slides for me and then the fun. Just a few division updates. We did hire a community health coordinator, and we actually brought her in from inside Sherburne County. So Alicia Maxwell joined the public health division. She has been, she has been the coordinator of the Substance Use Prevention Coalition for a long time, and so we are really happy that she has joined public health. And she's also brought the coalition with so that we can continue with that consistency. So we're onboarding her, and we're figuring out what the transition looks like so that we can also incorporate our statewide health improvement program and project partnership updates with that. And also, they are working on tobacco store audits at this time, and she has made some great progress in offering education sessions to our local cities. So by the end of summer, I think they'll have those completed and be back to give some additional thoughts to the board. The WIC supervisor interviews are underway, and we expect to have that wrapped up very soon. Nutrition educator position will be posted as soon as we really solidify that WIC supervisor. And then we have posted our community health worker position, and that is slated to start July 1st when the grant starts. So we do have a couple of applications already, and we just posted it. So we're really pleased with that. And that's funded through that Promising Practices grant. A couple of updates on still pending funding. I know I talk about this almost every time I'm here, but cannabis funding continues to be unknown for us at this time. They did make some last-minute changes for us. So the $10 million, which had been slotted for each year, has actually been reduced starting in the fiscal year of 2026 to $6.4 million for prevention and public health. So we'll just continue to wait for that information from the Department of Health. We expect it soon, as they had anticipated a July 1st start date for cannabis funding to local public health. And then the Jewel funding, again, another one we have been waiting on. I did contact them in the last couple of weeks again to ask when they might anticipate some guidance for us on what Jewel funding looks like. They said stay tuned, it should be soon, but as we are looking at budget planning, we're trying to be really ahead and proactive in what we might be able to be talking about. And Commissioner Philby, you did mention this already, but I missed the last Joint Powers Board for our first steps, but I heard that there was a lot of good feedback. So I just put a couple of the talking points that they had following the meeting. That reflective supervision presentation was well received. It's part of the model, but really helps our staff continue to do the work, just because it can be quite complex, and has been really beneficial to both supervisors and the direct staff. For budget information, we're in year 2, and for those of us who have had full caseloads, we had an opportunity for a non-competitive funding application, and so Benton, Stearns, and Sherburne were able to apply for additional funding, so 10 more families, which would give us $75,000 more to continue to serve families here in Sherburne. And then the last piece is that we've continued to see program growth for referrals. Maple Grove Hospital has been one of our target groups that we've been looking at. They are the space where most of our births happen in Sherburne County, and the referral levels have been super low. And so Kelly and Leah and some partners from the Metro have actually been meeting with them very routinely, and we're really hopeful that we'll start seeing some referrals from that hospital. And hopefully some prenatally, because we know that really is the most effective means when we can get in early and meet with families.
Quick question. Where are they recommending that these mothers go?
They're not. They're not referring them to us, so I'm not sure where they're making referrals in the community. They did have some home care that was available. Again, I don't know what the data is on how many did actually follow through with that referral. A little bit about county health rankings. I know I've done just a quick overview of these in the past. Not a lot has changed. So we look at the rankings as another tool for us to kind of measure where the health of Sherburne County is in comparison to Minnesota, and then you can do some bigger nationwide comparisons as well. They continue to kind of tweak it a little bit and add new data points and different methodology, but overall it's pretty much the same. So they use those county level measures using this kind of grid of methodology. So really we look at health outcomes and health factors, and there's lots of pieces that make up those. A little more in depth about each of those. So the health outcomes, that length of life and quality of life, are made up of those different data points. And then the health factors, looking at healthy behaviors, clinical care, social economic factors, and physical environment. So really kind of that broad social determinants of health look at what makes a community healthy. We continue to be very healthy here in Sherburne County. This page looks a little different. In years past, they would do a ranking from 1 to 87 for our different counties, and now they've changed it to this more of a spectrum. We're doing quite well in this area for the health outcomes. Our length of life is pretty great, and we're definitely above the national average, so great things to report there. A little less healthy in the health factors, and there's more factors in that, so not surprising. We're a little bit below the state average, but well above the national average, and really across Minnesota, we're pretty average for those health factors. We look at some areas where we might be able to do some exploration to see if there's some strategies we might want to implement. Adult smoking, this has continued to be on our radar. Although it's a little bit less than the year before, we continue to be higher than Minnesota and the US relatively. Social associations are less, and so we'd like to see that number go up, so our folks just aren't as involved in some of those organizations. And I'm not quite sure why or what we can do, but continuing to promote what we do have available is certainly something that I know happens across Sherburne County. And then, wow, I think the theme of the day have been parks. And so we just thought this was a great metric to include. Although we have a really good rating and we're really kind of equal with Minnesota and the US, we should be seeing this really climb in the next few years. There's been so much attention to our parks, and I think the creation of the new park will really, highlighted at NACO, that's fantastic. So thinking that's just a great thing, and we'll see that go up. And then lastly, we're just kind of monitoring this. Sexually transmitted diseases, they're less than the state, but we have just seen them go up every single year, so they continue to be in the red. So just something that we're watching, talking with our clinical partners on, and then figuring out what kind of messaging and things we might want to do to try to impact that. All right, now the fun will start. I'm going to bring up Peggy Salmon. She's our public health planner and loves data. So here we go.
Hello, Chair and Commissioners. Yes, I'm going to be talking about data, and I love this stuff, so I'm excited to share about this new data set available to us. So while the county health rankings is largely based off of sample size types of data, this is bordering on census level data because it involves about 90% of Minnesota residents in this data set. So we're going to go through a couple of slides, and then I'll give you a demo of to the right. Here we go. Okay. So the creation of this tool started in, the concept of it started in a shack retreat where we were talking about, well, Minnesota, you could see in the county health rankings where we're Minnesota and all of the Minnesota counties are largely to the right in terms of the spectrum of health. There is large disparities that we know of, and we're not quite sure how to, at this point, we weren't quite sure how to measure those. So there was an effort put forward, like, how can we measure these disparities in a meaningful way? So the Minnesota Electronic Health Records Consortium, they created this health trends across communities. It is a data sharing project across, with 11 of the health systems across Minnesota. They're the 11 largest health systems in Minnesota, and all of their clients make up 90% of the Minnesota residents. You can see their logos here. So it's Allina Health, CentraCare, Children's of Minnesota, Essentia Health, Health Partners, Hennepin Healthcare, Mayo Clinic, Health Fairview, VA, North Memorial Health, and Sanford Health. So all of those clinics have gotten together under the Minnesota Electronic Health Records Consortium. They have created a very detailed data privacy process, and they have a very detailed process to make sure to take out the duplication, and they've created this tool called Health Trends Across Communities. And it's filling some gaps in our public health data. As I had just talked about, the county health rankings is something that we do use quite a bit, but it is a sample size type of a data set, and this is more census-like in that it involves most of the people. And it's much more timely because it can be, once their process is, once they employ their process, it can be updated much more frequently than the census data. Everything is well documented, so very established methods in terms of collecting the data. It's centralized. They are presenting it at the census tract level for the entire state. And then it is a public and private collaboration. And the other, so it's population-based, and it's going to help us with the community health needs assessment. Some of you did attend the April 10th meeting where we started talking about the Sherburne County and the Central Minnesota Alliance Community Health Needs Assessment. So part of the challenge with our China's or community health needs assessments is the availability of data and the type of data we've been able to utilize. So this is going to very much boost particularly the people's prevalence of illness. And then this allows local public health, so Sherburne County Public Health and Community Central Minnesota Alliance to have timely data for this, and then we don't have to survey on it because it's already available for us. There's 22 indicators that are available in this first release of the tool. And the categories are substance use, mental health, chronic conditions, maternal and child health, and a couple others. And then I will do a demo. I'm so excited about this. This is super fun. Keisha's gonna pull up the tool. Thanks so much, appreciate it. So when you come to the dashboard web page, when you first come to this web page, have a little bit of patience. It takes a bit to load. Almost every time I've loaded, I'm like, oh, am I on the wrong page? No, no, no. Just take a couple seconds and it will load. There are several tabs here. So along the left, you have a home tab, about, so pretty much everything that I've just shared with you is on this page too. Demographics, prevalence. So prevalence tab is statewide data, and the geography tab gets all the way down to the city level. So I'm going to show you how to get to the city level. And there's some special population demographics and special population prevalence. And then, so you can navigate by this left, all of these buttons, and you can also navigate with, on the bottom here, there's an arrow system. You can navigate the 7 tabs that way. I'm going to start with prevalence. So prevalence is the percent of the population that's experiencing the health concern or the health condition. And I'm going to scroll down quickly so I can also show you a little bit more about this webpage because there's lots of resources on here. So it tells you all of this background information again. And then for all of the health conditions, this is all electronic health record data. So it's all coming from those 11 healthcare systems. So all of these conditions are combined types of conditions that are identified within a visit while you're at the clinic or a hospital. So in each of these different sections, you can see what is all included. It's generally a list of things. It's not just one diagnosis code. So each of the indicators gives you that list of diagnosis codes that's involved in there. And then there's also a glossary of terms. So if you are looking at this or if you're sharing this with a partner, a nonprofit, or somebody who wants to use these data for a grant application or something, and you're wondering about some of these terms, they're all explained just at the bottom of the page, pretty easy to get to. So I was just going to show you for prevalence. So the definition of prevalence is the percentage of people in the population with a certain health condition. And then it explains how that's calculated. So it's laid out pretty clearly if you are sharing that with someone else. I'm going to start by just showing, we've been talking quite a bit about mental health. It's Mental Health Month. May is Mental Health Month. And we had this great presentation by Roy and Emily this morning. So there are 6 conditions with regard to mental health. So I'm just going to run through them at the state level so you can kind of get a sense of how the graphs work. And then I'm going to pop in and show you the, get down to the city, the county and the city level for the condition of anxiety. So we're going to start with depression. So the condition list is pretty easy to pop through. You just use this down arrow. I'm going to go over to depression. And I want to give you one word of caution in terms of looking at these 4 years. Each year of data is based on 3 years of people going to the doctor. So like 2023 is really about 2023, 2022, and 2021 people going to the doctor and being diagnosed with these particular codes. So if you were going to look at trend data, I would advise that you could look at 2023 and 2022, because 2023 already includes the 2022 and 2021 data. If you ever have any questions about that, you can certainly contact me. So kind of a really fun part about this is it's very, you can dig into the data. So if you're, can I use the keyboard too? And the instructions to do this are on here. So like control click, you can click on different parts. So if we wanted to look at depression for white males, so you just hold the and do click. The other really awesome thing is that it's for all ages, 0 to 89 and higher. So anybody who is older than 89 is categorized in the age of 89 bucket on this data set. So if we wanted to look at 0 to 17, so if we wanted to look at youth depression for girls, there you can see you can just zero right into a category of ages. And one thing I would also like to point out is that as you zero in or zoom out, however you're doing it, these graphs, be cognizant that the graphs might be changing. So it might say 15%, and the next time if you zoom out, it might say 50%. So always be cognizant of what the axes say on the graphs. So you can zoom in like that. And then I'm gonna, I wanted to just share. So the Minnesota's population is 5.7 million people. So 90% of that is 5.1 million people. That's how many people are in this data set. It's very robust, and I'm super excited too. It's relatively new, so I haven't dug into it too much, but we have a team and we'll be looking at it in the upcoming months. Okay, so here I just wanted to show, so depression is, we're maxing out at about 19% here when we look at all of these different categories. And then if we go down to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder is what PTSD stands for. And you can see that the axes change. So here we're seeing about the top percentage is about 4%, 5%. We'll go to bipolar disorder, and I just want to remind you that we are looking at state level data here. Bipolar disorder. And here we're seeing about a max of about 3% here. And I'm pointing this out because as the smaller the number is at the state level, when you go and look at that data at the city level, the numbers may be too small and you might not be able to see data at the state level because anything that's less than a count of 15, they will not display in this data set. So I just want to show you there are different levels of prevalence per condition. We'll go to psychotic disorders. Roy talked about a story about somebody who had a psychotic disorder this morning. So here the top is about 4% we're seeing. And then they have one indicator here for suicidal ideation and recent attempt. And this one also tops out at about 4%. So I'm gonna just go to anxiety. The reason I wanted to demonstrate anxiety at the city level is because it is the highest prevalence for Minnesota. And here you can see we're seeing about 25% for all females in Minnesota is the highest prevalence percent there. So to go to the smaller geographies, you go to the geography tab, and you can do that on the left, or you can, down at the bottom, you can also navigate that way. Sometimes on your computer, it might take a minute for this one to load because it's loading a map and it's loading lots of data. So you can look at this from a region perspective. So if you wanted to compare Central to another region, you can do that. You can look at social vulnerability. And then this also gives you whichever area of geography you're looking at, it gives you the comparison of that geography with Minnesota. So you always get at least one comparison with the state in these right columns, right graphs. So I'm gonna go into Central. I'm just gonna show you what a region looks like. So when you click on a region, it just will populate the whole region. So you can kind of see what that data looks like. And then if we want to go into Sherburne County specific, the other thing I wanted to show is every time you change a geography, it will zoom back out to the Minnesota. So you'll have to get used to zooming in and out of the map. So here we're into Sherburne County. And then if you want to get to the cities of Sherburne County, you just do the drop-down arrow by Sherburne County. So I'll just click through a couple of these. So here you see all of Sherburne County here, and this would be all the data for Sherburne County. So the Sherburne County is the dark blue, and Minnesota is the light blue. And then to get to the specific cities, you just unclick Sherburne County, and then we'll click Becker in here. So it always zooms back out to the Minnesota level. So then to scroll, you can use your scroll bar, your scroll button on your mouse. Get in there. So every single city except for Clear Lake does consist of more than one census tract. So each of the cities has more than one census tract, and then that also tells you which social vulnerability category it's in. And then here you can also see we're starting to get into smaller numbers, where if there's a number that's smaller than a count of 15, it just will not show up it will show up as blank on the graphs. I'll show you Big Lake here. Zoom in and out. So these are all census tract data. So in terms of the boundary of the city, almost always the census tracts will include the whole of the city, but I would say almost always will be outside of the city boundary. So the census tracts of the city, if you're looking at the population, like you might know the population of the city that you are most familiar with, you might know the US Census population. When you look at these data, it would not, well, one, it won't correlate because it's people who have accessed the medical system, but it will be slightly different because the geography is not exactly the same as the border of your city. So Elk River.
Peggy,
Go ahead.
I've got a question too.
Yes.
So would our township residents be counted where?
I think it's not identified in the tool as a township, but what you can do is you could highlight the county and then zoom in and see where your township lies on the Sherburne County map, and then you could see what census tract or what census tract fits best around your township geography, and you could do it that way.
Thank you.
I had a question when you're talking about some of the conditions,
Yes.
and these come from the healthcare providers.
Yes.
Say if someone from the city of Big Lake went up to the city of Becker and accessed their clinic, would that differentiate? Would that be then reassigned to the city of origin that the patient was in, or would that be to the clinic that they're using?
This is a new data set, so I'm almost sure, I don't know this for positive, but I'm almost sure that it's tied to the address of the person. There are some trainings coming out from the consortium that developed this tool coming out soon. So, and more than likely that is explained somewhere on this page, but I don't, I'm almost sure that it's tied to the address of the patient. And then I'll just show one more here. Oh God. Oh, I switched, well, I must have reset to something.
I think so. I saw it change, but I didn't catch
Thank you. So there is a lot of things that can be clicked. So when you do look at things, it's always nice to double check that the settings are where you want it, like anxiety and Zimmerman. And if you want to do a reset, there is you can reset page here and then restart over your, especially if you wanted to do something, you know, I want to look at Zimmerman females. Once you start clicking into those and really start zooming in on the population, you'll want to double check your what you have set as your filters when you're sharing the final data.
Peggy.
Yes, go ahead.
Will you click on alcohol?
Yes.
I'm just curious to see numbers.
Okay, so this is particular to Zimmerman. So Zimmerman, alcohol. I will do Sherburne County. I'm just gonna make sure alcohol, Sherburne County. Is that what you wanted to see? Or you can, I'm hoping that you can see it clearer in front of you. Good.
Yeah.
Any other questions or anything else that you wanted to see that I could? And I just really did want to offer, like, we do have capacity. This is part of our public health infrastructure goal, is to help people with data in the community. So if you're reviewing this, or if you're reviewing any other data set, we are, and particularly I am, able to meet with you. I could walk through this site with you. I could walk through any other data set maybe that you're working with. And we are also willing to meet with any community partners that you might be meeting with, and they might be like, I don't know what to do about this data for a grant report or for our strategic planning. We're kind of thinking about this focus. I don't know where to find data on that. That we would really welcome those emails and would like to converse with them.
I'm just curious, would you be sending out this to our townships and our cities as something that would be available for them to access in what you just talked about?
We could certainly do that.
I think we'll probably put the link on the website and then send out a link to our partners. Yeah. And then, we might want to tighten up a shorter presentation, but have it available for the Sherburne County Association of Townships as well as department heads and cities. So especially when we're circling back on cannabis and opioids this summer with both of those groups, we can add this as well.
We wanted to put together an outline. We could do a quick recording too.
Yeah, this is, the data set's amazing. I mean, I'm
this is
really impressed. And, Greg and I were on the regional discussion group when we had that. And, while there were larger issues about use of the data itself is just absolutely phenomenal and really going to be a powerful tool.
And we have submitted a request to add tobacco and dental too. So hopefully, I know they are working on other conditions. Question?
Greg, and then if you're okay, Greg, couple comments, the attorney, and then I had a follow-up too.
Could we also add to that list the school districts? Because I think they would find great information out of this. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yep.
And then if you're okay with a quick question,
I'm sorry?
can I ask you a quick question too?
Yes.
So Nicole, on your slides, there was, I don't know if we can go back to them, Keisha, but you had a social connections indicator. And I'm just interested, and I apologize, I don't know where the industry is right now, but the originating literature on social connectedness, it probably came out of Putnam's work at Harvard with Bowling Alone and the value of social capital, so those connections. But then in the follow-up work, there was, the Better Together concepts where there were some introductions of other social associations that are replacing the traditional clubs. I'm wondering, does this social associations can address some of the more modern affiliations and even some of the electronic ones? For instance, there was some data a couple years ago about e-gaming or e-sports has almost as much social capital as being physically in the field playing sports. I'm just wondering if that social associations connects to those.
That's a great question, and I don't know the answer, so I can certainly look into the rankings a bit more because, yeah, that could be super impactful when you think about it.
So are there any other questions, concerns?
So I've been serving on the SHAC Retreat Planning Committee for this next year, and I think this is going to be brought to the retreat somehow. That's what
I'm pretty sure. I know the retreat that we had that Commissioner Gray and I attended. This was something that was well attended, and there was actually people standing and clapping because this has been so long awaited. Like, this is an absolute great data set.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Or somehow it's going to be brought forward again through SHAC. And I think this is important. When I think of the things I serve on, Central Minnesota Mental Health, the library, Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, Central Minnesota Council on Aging, could all benefit from this information. So will you just be sending links out to us?
We can do that. Like, we're actually meeting with the Sherburne County United Way this afternoon, and we're going to do a presentation for them around our improvement plan. So, we can certainly offer this to them. But we've been talking about this in all of our connections. So if we're missing some, certainly send them our direction, and we can really work
My
with them.
whole committee list could use this.
That was long.
Pretty much. But that's good you're meeting with Kat, because Kat also connects with many of those that I.
Yeah, and I think that, maybe having a virtual recording, at least a place to start, and then seeing what HTAC has available. They immediately had emails from a few of us going, this is fantastic. Can you put these on your priority list, for our tobacco conversations, for, like you said, the cannabis planning. So many of these things I think are going to be really great tools for us.
Well, and we're just kibitzing here on the side. I mean, just this has so many implications for so many potential uses. But that aggregate data, the fact that private healthcare systems and nonprofits have finally gotten together, sharing the data, but also been able to do HIPAA compliance and anonymity, and that's where that 15 threshold comes in. So if you have less than 15, you might be able to identify in your population the individuals. And so really, it's super well thought out, just amazing.
It was funded with one of the public health innovation grants from the Department of Health. So, yeah, great use of the funds. We are ecstatic.
All right. Any other questions? Nope.
Thank you.
I think we're done. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. That's amazing stuff.
Thank you.
Just amazing.
Before you open closed session, when you reconvene as the board, it was noted that we didn't have a motion and a second to accept the auditor treasurer's report. So once you close the community health board meeting, you're going to reconvene the board. I'm wondering if we could go back to item 5.7 and just have you have a motion and a second on Diane's report.
Okay, thank you very much. So at this point, we will close the Community Health Board meeting. We'll reopen the regular meeting for the consideration of receive, review, and accept the Auditor Treasurer's monthly report for April 2024. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Haltz, seconded by Commissioner Gray. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, none opposed. Motion passes. Okay. So at this point, then, we will close the regular session and reconvene for a closed session at this point in time.